It's with the millions.
It's that world heavyweight flow. Championship belt wrapped around my waist, yo. I got that Ric Flair figure flow. Slam you on the pavement, that's why they call me Street Pro. Create heat on beat flow. Like Jordan after the second time he three-peated, folks. Get ready, set, let's go. Fight toe to toe, release the flow created by this mic pro. Lights, camera, get low. Action packed, back to back. In fact, this monster will grow. Y'all better let him know. Man with the master plan, and you have no need to know. You came prepared, now get ready for the show.
Sports Professor. Oh!
Yo, 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 what up? What up? What up, friends? Yes, you know what it is. Back at it again. Another week with the professors. Semanalmente. I am your host, as always, Omar, the Professor Fonseca. And all that means, my friends, is weekly. Because, yes, this is my weekly show for all you marks out there. That's all that means is weekly. Let me know. It was sounding a little low in sound check. So if you think that I sound a little low on the microphone, please let me know in the comments. Because as I was hearing myself during sound check, it sounded a little low on my end. So someone give me a shout out in the comments. Let me know if you hear me all right as well. Make sure while you do that you hit that like button so YouTube will prop us up nicely in the algorithm. That being said, again, this is the Professor Semanalmente. I am Omar, the Professor Fonseca. Make sure you subscribe at Ball and Buds, BALLANDBUDS. I've included a handy QR code up at the top that you can see up there. If you go ahead and scan that, that'll take you to our link tree, which has all of our social medias for you to subscribe and follow. Awesome. All right. Well, again, thank you all for tuning in. We're letting everybody gather in here. Thank you for seeing some people pile in. All right. Perfect. Thank you. Sounds great. I appreciate that, Mother, as always. My audio and video producer and director. She is a angel. I love her. All right. Let's keep it moving and let's kick this bad boy off. Happy Sick Call Monday. Was that you? Were you one of the many, many people that went ahead and called off sick on Super Bowl Sunday? Well, the Harris poll actually extrapolated this year using responses. This came from a survey from the Workforce Institute at UKG that surveyed 1,220 employed adults 18 and up from January 16th to the 21st. And so beyond the flu, the bird flu, which we'll talk about in a little bit, whatever else is going on out there that may be getting people sick, first of all, stay the heck away from me. Keep that to yourself. No need for that over here on this end. But also, it might not have just been all that today. May have been a little something else. Maybe some people had a little bit of the brown flu, aka a little bit of the hangover. Yes. Well, if you did, you would not be alone. Estimated 22.6 million Americans across the United States were expected to take the day off after the partying that they did for the Super Bowl yesterday. And if you're a Chiefs fan, woo! Hold up. I need these glasses for this one. Oh, if you're a Chiefs fan, woo, I don't have my Raiders hat over here, but y'all already know. You watch this channel, you already know I'm a Raiders fan. You already know I celebrated all night long. Ain't that right? Oh, if you hate the Chiefs like I hate the Chiefs, that we partied last night. Oh, it was a joyous occasion to just drink in the tears of Kansas City Chiefs fans. Ain't that right, Rick? Tell him that's right.
Unlimited ride, jet flying, you're stealing, wheeling dealing, son of a gun. Woo, 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 woo.
Oh, we are wooing around here today. Ah. Oh, Chiefs fans. Thought y'all had a dynasty on your hands. Thought that y'all had the next Tom Shady on your hands. Thought you had the next. Oh, sorry, Fiend. You're gonna have to go without it. That's the Fiend. Rest in power, Bray Wyatt. Yeah, I don't know. We're gonna talk a little bit about that. We're gonna talk a little bit about that here in a second. We will talk more about the Chiefs dynasty or lack thereof. But yeah, if you were one of those people that requested the day off today, don't feel bad. Don't feel bad. Again, an estimated over 22 million, 22.5 million expected to. So you definitely were not alone. Let me give you some more numbers on this. That's why they call me the professor. That's why you come here. Analysis from Net Voucher Codes reveals that even the people that make it into work, but it doesn't matter. The ones that are probably going to, the ones that drink will likely be, moderately hungover. They analyzed that $55.28 of lost productivity per hungover employee. That's great. First of all, obviously that takes into account all of the income that is made, all of the salaries that are made across many different industries, because obviously not everyone makes $55 an hour, but that's pretty crazy. That just goes to show you that the productivity lost by people that even do go into work today, instead of just taking the sick day, is going to cost them up to $3 billion, they could say. It could result in a lost productivity for businesses all across America. They also said that last year, the sick day requests were 63% more than any other regular Monday across the year, and 51% more than any other day in February of that year. But don't just blame this on the employees that are requesting these days off. Oh, no. No. Let's blame those managers too. Actually, let's not blame anybody. Let's just make it a damn holiday. The day after the Super Bowl should have been a holiday a long time ago. Let's just get that out of the way so we know my preference on it. But 91% of sick days were approved last year. So a lot of managers are probably taking off themselves and hitting that approve button because they know they want to stay home too. So that's just pretty funny. Some stats there around Sick Call Monday. We used to call it Sick Call in the military. They still do. You get what I'm saying. Anyways, UKG also reported about 14.5 million adults actually admitted feeling worse, that they lied about it afterwards. So about 2/3 of the people that lie about it actually kind of feel bad about it afterwards. So that goes to show you at least people have some sort of moral compass. Now, if that's gonna prevent them from doing it or not, I can guarantee you probably not. Shout out my brother Hot Take Jake. The dynasty is dead, he says. Lego. I'll get to my opinion in just a second, but it's not looking good. Not looking good. Let's just say that Patrick Mahomes and the rest of the Kansas City Chiefs. That being said, let's keep it moving into the sports world. We'll start with our sports first. And we like to start with our sports rankings through the week. We give you our college and sports rankings. And first, we like to start off our college basketball rankings. So women's college basketball, keep it going. Lady Bruins, yes. Shout out to my UCLA Lady Bruins. 8 clap, 4s up. Fight, let's go. UCLA 23-0, still the only undefeated team on the season. Lauren Betts, center, says she will return next season for another year. And I already think we're going to win the championship this year. So to have her back another year, please welcome back. She wants to play with her sister, Sienna, who is an incoming 5-star recruit for those UCLA Bruins. How about number 2, Notre Dame, 21-2? And you say, what? What happened to South Carolina? This whole time, the South Carolina Gamecocks, led by Dawn Staley, perennial contenders year after year. What happened? They were in the second position pretty much all year long. And now you're telling us that they are no longer occupying that position. Yes, that is quite what I am telling you. There was an upset over the weekend. The number 4 at the time, now number 2, Texas Lady Longhorns upended the number 2 South Carolina Lady Gamecocks in what was an awesome game this past weekend. They ended the Gamecocks' 57-game winning streak. 57 games in SEC play. That started in January of 2021. 4 years of unbeaten play in the conference until now. Texas knocks them off, makes it 1-1 in the season series, and moves them into a 3-way tie, which is the biggest part of this, with LSU, Texas, and South Carolina in the SEC. Wow, it's going to be crazy coming down the stretch in the Southeastern Conference. Shout out sophomore Madison Booker of the Lady Longhorns, their star, who led with 20 points and 11 rebounds. Men's college basketball, as you know, last week we talked about the fact that there was a lot of we've been talking about the fact that there's a lot of SEC teams that are consistently among the top 5, top 10 on a weekly basis, and that the SEC, as we just talked about in the women's, right? We just talked about on the women's side how good the SEC is. Well, it's the same when you look at it on the men's side. The men's SEC teams have been in the top 10 all year long, pretty much leading that. And so we find no different here on the men's side. Looking at the top 10, there is a lot of SEC dominance. So at number 1, Auburn, 21 wins, 2 losses. Alabama in number 2 with 20 wins, 3 losses. Florida Gators, 20 wins, 3 losses. That's 3 for 3 on the SEC. I told you. Duke, the now first non-SEC team, the ACC, Duke Blue Devils, 20 wins, 3 losses, tied for 3rd. So they're tied at the number 3 power ranking. And then Tennessee, another SEC team, the Tennessee Volunteers, 20 wins, 4 losses. So 4 of the top 5 SEC teams. We've been talking about this all year long, and it continues the Southeastern Conference's dominance in men's and women's college basketball, which comes after they've dominated in football. So the SEC is getting the recognition and props they deserve for consistently being the best conference in America when it comes to college sports, especially now that they broke the Pac-12 up. Because if you look back in the day, the Pac-12 was what was usually considered the standard of sporting excellence when you looked at the UCLAs and the Stanfords and even the FUSCs and California. A lot of these teams, and you may say, oh, well, they They may have a lot of championships, but that may not have come in the top two, football and basketball, but that may be the top two to the mainstream. That may be the top two to mainline sports fans, but there's a lot of other sports that contribute. And I am happy to be a UCLA fan, which is in the top, I believe they're number 2 now, behind Stanford, for most championships. And that includes water polo and soccer and all the other great sports that are not just basketball and football. So, shout out to those colleges that are dominating in other sports other than just the main two. All right. Well, looking at the NHL, let's move it on to our hockey power rankings. And we're also going to talk about the Four Nations, which starts this week. But first of all, let's get into our power rankings. Number 1 in our NHL power rankings, the Winnipeg Jets, 38 wins, 14 losses, and 3 draws. The Washington Capitals at number 2, 35 wins, 11 losses, and 7 draws. As we like to do on this program, as I am from the DMV, we like to have a OV watch as Alex Ovechkin goes to try to break the record of the great one, Wayne Gretzky, for most goals ever. Let's give you an update. He scored again. That's your update. He scored again. He's up to 879 goals, which means he is 15 shy of tying, 16 goals shy of breaking Wayne Gretzky's record, and he has 29 games left to do it. They say that on this pace, he could break it before the end of the season. Right now, the estimated time would be April 12th. So, wow, if he can break it this year, again, as y'all know, Wayne Gretzky is my favorite all-time hockey player. As a Kings fan, as a hockey fan, I love the great one. But I also have said, if anyone is to break the goals record, it should be Ovechkin. Ovechkin has been in the league forever, and it's not, hanging on forever and just being kind of good. No, this has been great every single year forever kind of performance. And so that's why I am okay with him breaking it. Anyone else I would not be okay with. Edmonton Oilers at number 3, 34 wins, 16 losses, 4 draws. At number 4, the Dallas Stars, 34 wins, 18 losses, 1 draw. And at number 5, the Carolina Hurricanes, 32 wins, 18 losses, and 4 draws. Now, those are the power rankings. And if you watch the Bottom Line Sports, which, by the way, check us out tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern, the Bottom Line Sports. You can either watch that here on Ball and Buds if you're watching that here, or join the Facebook group at The Bottom Line Sports. If you're a sports fan, I definitely think you should join the group. We post a lot of sports news and do a lot of trash talk. So if you like sports, definitely join the group. If you just want to support, join the group too. If you're not a sports fan and you don't want to support The Bottom Line Sports, but you want to support us, make sure you hit that subscribe button or smash that subscribe button, as the kids say. If you're watching us right now, please do that at Ball and Buds, BALLANDBUDS, or use that handy QR code. And also, if you're watching right now, I appreciate you hitting a like really quick for us. Boost us up in that algorithm so Google will show me off and show us off to more people here at Ball and Buds. Four Nations. What did I say? The Four Nations face-off. Yes, no all-star game this year for the NHL. The NHL said we will forego the all-star game this year in lieu of a 4-team tournament representing 4 nations, including, obviously, the United States, as well as our compatriots to the north, or so we thought. We'll get into a little more of that later with what President Donald Trump plans to do, or would like to do with Canada, at least. Canada will also be in the tournament, Sweden and Finland. This will be a round-robin tournament with locations of competing in Montreal and Boston from February 12th to the 20th. Each team consists of a team of NHL All-Stars representing, obviously, that country. So, right, they're from that country. And so round robin tournament, this is to prepare them for next year when the Olympians go back to the Olympics. Excuse me, when the NHL players go back to the Olympics. So last week, as I stated, the NHL players have not been to the Olympics in a long time, the Winter Olympics, 2012 to be exact, when they removed them from the Olympics because they were fear of players getting hurt. And also because the Winter Olympics are obviously right smack dab in the middle of the NHL season, and they didn't want to have to take a break. So they stopped going, but now they're going back. So they're having a tournament to prepare for that. Weirdly enough, I've said this before, Winter Olympics are not till next year, 2026. So they could have done this next year instead of having the All-Star game next year, which they're planning on doing. They should have reversed it, at least in my eyes. But what do I know? I'm sure they thought that out. Let's look at some star players on each roster representing Canada. Sidney Crosby, the kid from the obviously Pittsburgh Penguins. You got Nathan McKinnon from the Colorado Avalanche. Brad Marchand from the Boston Bruins. Connor McDavid representing the Edmonton Oilers. And shout out to my Kings, Drew Doughty, who made the roster as an all-star, but is injured. And that will show you how great of a season he was having. And we can't wait to get you back, Drew. He made the all-star team, and he got hurt. I believe it was around game 20. So he only played a quarter of the season and was still chosen as all-star. That's how great he was playing. We hope you get back soon and healthy. I believe he's coming back after the all-star break. For Finland, let's look at a couple of their stars. Sebastian Aho representing the Carolina Hurricanes as well. You're going to have Capo Kakko, excuse me, sir. I apologize sincerely for messing your name up in such a fashion that would indicate a word of maybe even, I don't want to say disrespect because there was no disrespect intended, but that word in Spanish is not a good word, so I apologize. Wow. Moving on, UC Soros from the Predators. Yeah, Juicy makes it in as an all-star. Let's look at Sweden. Keep it moving. Victor Arvidsson from the Edmonton Oilers. Again, from your Nashville Predators here in Nashville, Philip Forsberg. Shout out to my Kings again. Adrian Kempe having another amazing season. Shout out to him. And then finally, the United States. We've got a good team, not as good as the other countries, to be completely honest, if you want me to, which is what you come to this program for. Austin Matthews, Toronto Maple Leafs. You got the Chuck brothers, Bradley and Matthew, both really good players. And one of the best goalies in the league, Connor Hellebuck from the Winnipeg Jets. So those are some players representing in this Four Nations Face-Off tournament. Let's move it on to the NBA. NBA power rankings this week. The Oklahoma City Thunder, your number one team in the power rankings, 42 wins, 9 losses. At number 2, you know who is. They are moving up in the world like elevators. We back on top. It matches I put on the green today. It's not necessarily Eagles green, but for the Eagles I did. It matches the Celtics hat. At number 2, my Boston Celtics. 37 wins, 16 losses. At number 3, the Cleveland Cavaliers, 42 wins, 10 losses. At number 4, the Denver Nuggets, 34 wins, 19 losses. And rounding out the top 5 of our NBA basketball power rankings, the New York Knickerbockers, 34 wins, 18 losses. So there you go. Those are our college and pro sports power rankings for the week. I do want to say a couple notes before we get into our Super Bowl review. I want everybody, if you're a sports fan, I understand if you're watching the program for news and you don't care about the sports, don't worry. We're getting soon into our U.S. and world news. We'll talk all about the week that was in Donald Trump, which is going to become a recurring segment on this program. You heard me talk and rant about the Dallas Mavericks trading their franchise, a basketball prodigy, Luka Doncic, If you're on the channel, please go watch the video. It's a short video, but it's me ranting on how stupid the Dallas Mavericks had to be for getting rid of a 25 all-NBA year after year franchise prodigy because they thought that getting an all-NBA defensive team was going to help them to win more championships than they might win in the next 10 years with this great player that they already had in-house. So please go watch that, but you'll see my whole rant there. I'm not going to get into it, but I will say one thing. During the rant that I had on this exact subject, I mentioned one of the reasons that I did not like the trade was because Anthony Davis is so injury prone. So the Dallas Mavericks traded their franchise player, their basketball prodigy, Luka Doncic, for Anthony Davis to pair one off-injured superstar with another one, Kyrie, who has not a great injury history as well. And I lamented this. I said this was not going to work out. I said you cannot put injured players together and have, first of all, a long timeline. I said they had this year and maybe next to win a championship, and now it might not even be this year. Why, you ask? Because we saw exactly what Anthony Davis has been his whole career, an enigma. He is an amazing talent, amazing superstar, all-world talent, and he showed it. His first game back with the Mavericks, I got league pass, so I'll be watching all the games. I was watching the game. He came back, had a great game, 26 points, 16 boards, 7 assists, and this was only in the first 3 quarters. He had an awesome game going on. The Mavericks fans were hyped in the crowd. They were like, let's go. We got Anthony Davis. He's going to replace after they were having funerals the night before for Luka. Right, but you get it, right? They want to, they're hopeful. They need something in this moment of mourning. So they see Anthony Davis come up and shine like a gladiator in the Roman Colosseum. And then in the third quarter, what happens? What do you think happened? The enigma that is Anthony Davis happened. Adductor strain. That's here in your midsection. He's got a little strain of his abdomen, as they call it. Gonna be out at least 2 weeks, at least 10 games. Oh no, surrender, Cobra pose. No. Why? That's what the Mavericks fans are saying right now. And that's exactly why I said last week they shouldn't have made this trade. He's out 10 games now. And you may say that's not a lot. But what if that 10 turns into 20? What if that 20 turns into 30? What if that turns into not coming back till playoff time? And now you don't have a lot of time with him and Kyrie working together. That puts him behind the 8 ball, and that doesn't bode well when you're playing teams in the playoffs that have been playing together all season long. So now this season's gone. So now you got 1 season left to hope that you can get a championship in Dallas. And if not, I told you, Nico Harrison. I told you, sir. I told you they're going to send you back to the Waffle House. You're going to be managing the La Quinta Inn. Because you ain't going to be no general manager in Dallas no more. Not if this don't work out. And it's looking highly, highly improbable at this point. Little side eye action at you, sir, for what I consider to be one of the worst trades ever. Any sport. Any sport. That's one of the worst trades ever. You can't tell me. I mean, come on. Dallas fans got to definitely be in mourning now. They got to feel, they just got to feel like maybe a truck is backing up on them. You trade our franchise player for someone who gets injured a lot, and the first thing they do is come in and get injured? What they say? Karma is a what? Well, if you decide to trade the face of your franchise, who's only 25 years old, for a 32-year-old off-injured superstar, I guess you reap what you sow, is how the saying goes. Yeah. I don't know. It's science.
You're
right?
just a woman with a small brain, with a brain a third the size of us. It's science. You're just a woman with a small brain.
Shout out to Anchorman. Anchorman, one of my favorite movies. I know some people don't like it. Some people don't like Will Ferrell, but I thought it was a hilarious movie. But yeah, that's tough. That's tough for Dallas. I feel so bad for those fans. And you traded the other guy because of conditioning issues. Not that Anthony Davis is out of shape, because he's not. But this abdomen strain is not going to help. You know what? I'm not even going to get into it anymore. I'm going to let it go. Good luck to you, Sir Harrison. Good luck. All right, moving on. One more note before we get into the Super Bowl. Jets have announced that they expect to move on from Aaron Rodgers. No more of the 41-year-old QB in New York. No, they say with the new coach, Aaron Glenn, that they are going to be moving in a new direction away from Aaron Rodgers. As well, in 49er land, shout out to Clubber D, the Combat G, his 49ers are going to allow star wideout Deebo Samuel to seek a trade after he requested one in the exit meetings. So obviously Deebo has been having some, I was getting a little parched there. Deebo has had some trade talks in the past around his name, contract issues, things like that. So we'll see where this goes. But now that they signed Brandon Ayuk to a long-term deal last season, and he provides, a better skill set and better talent, according to Clubber D and the other 49ers fans. So I'm sure they want to keep him more. So we'll see what happens there. NFL Super Bowl. Did you watch the Super Bowl last night? Hit me in the comments. Let me know what you thought about the Super Bowl last night. Started out as a blowout. Really, really did. Well, I shouldn't say started. It was a blowout the whole entire time. The Chiefs didn't really score much till late. So maybe you turned off the TV. Maybe you left the party early. Maybe you decided you just didn't want to see anymore. So you just went. And that's okay. Understood. Usually blowouts are not what the NFL wants in this sort of situation. They'd rather have a game that is obviously close, that keeps the viewers hooked, the eyes on the TV set, especially when you're selling commercials for $8 a pop. So let's get a little bit into the game here. Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts named the MVP as the Eagles won 40-22. The score, as it may indicate, was that the game might have been a little closer than it appeared, but it was not. Please believe that score does not indicate a closeness of a game, because it was not close at all. Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes sacked 6 times, intercepted twice. What? You mean the future GOAT? Is that who we talking about here? The future GOAT? Going to take over for TB? Going to take over for Tom Brady? He called the performance haunting. Reminiscence of remember when Sam Darnold said he saw ghosts on the field? Y'all remember that? Y'all remember that? Hilarious. I was seeing ghosts out there. Patrick Mahomes was seeing some ghosts last night, y'all. Oh, the Eagles D. The Eagles D. The Eagles D was rough, tough, and penetrating. Pause. That joint was getting up in there. Pause. The Eagles D was on point. Swarmed him. Didn't give Patrick Mahomes a 3-second all night long. You know what else, though? They didn't blitz either. This was with a 4-man front all game long. That is tremendous. When your defensive front, 4, without any help from the linebackers or defensive backs, can dominate an offensive line like that. First of all, the Chiefs need to go back to the drawing board on that offensive line and rebuild that this offseason. But the Eagles have a monster defense. And that defensive line led by rookie Jalen Carter. Come on. Wow. Kansas City didn't score till 34 seconds left in the third quarter. Basically the fourth quarter. They were down 34-0. Woo! Makes me feel good inside. Oh, I love when a team like the Chiefs or the New England Scams can get their just due, can get their just reward. Oh, yes. Oh, it feels good. Feels good in my heart to see the Chiefs get their butts whooped so bad. What do we call it in my group? My friend circle, my original friend circle from back in the day. Shout out my 703 boys and girls. Ass whooping casserole. That's what that was. They were serving up some casserole. And the name of that casserole? Ass whooping. Ass whooping casserole. That's what they got. All up, ain't it? Casserole, just served. Nice, hot, piping hot, tasty, just delicious. Ass whooping casserole. That's what they got. A whole heaping Philly cheesesteak variation of casserole, of ass whooping casserole. They got the Philly cheesesteak version. That's what they got the Philly cheesesteak casserole. Oh, Jalen Hurts was the MVP. 221 yards, 2 touchdowns in the air, added another 72 yards and 1 touchdown on the ground. Wow, it's a really good game. Combined 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. Can't beat that at all. And so they was popping the bottles of Ace of Spades, just throwing that champagne everywhere, and they deserved it. They deserved it. Why? Because as Hot Take Jake said, the dynasty is dead. Sorry. You can't get blown out like that. Nah. At least when the New England Scams lost their Super Bowls to the Giants and Eli Manning, who didn't make the Hall of Fame and shouldn't have. I mean, maybe he can eventually since he won 2 Super Bowls, but not the first time. That's another topic for another day. And by the way, Jim Plunkett still ain't in the Hall of Fame. The disrespect that is Jim Plunkett, 2-time Super Bowl winning quarterback, not being in the Hall of Fame is disrespect to the highest order that Jim Plunkett is still left out of the Hall of Fame. So don't get me started on Eli Manning. Anyways, you can't get blown out in the Super Bowl and tell me that you're a dynasty. You just can't. And I had called them a dynasty before the game because of their consistent winning. because of the fact that they have won multiple championships. But right now, all that's on hold. Right now, all that's on hold. And they played with karma all year long. They had won 17 games in a row by one score. If you watch this program or the Bottom Line Sports, you would have heard me say that a few times already. 17 games by one score. Sorry, one score or less, not one score or more. That doesn't make any sense. One score or less, so 7 points or less. 17 games in a row they won. It was going to come back to bite them. It was going to. It had to come back to bite them. And it did now. They were so lost last night. The way that Philadelphia had them on their heels all game long. Patrick Mahomes looked so uncomfortable back there. And the rest of the team, I mean, let's get this completely right. The reason that I say the Chiefs, and the reason that most people will say that the Chiefs are, which they are, and still are going forward, there's nothing to say that this Super Bowl victory will prevent them from even coming back next year and winning another one, which they would have to do in order to make this a dynasty again. They would have to come back next year and win. Right now, again, that's still on hold. But to make them look so lost is to have Patrick Mahomes lost. When you get Patrick Mahomes shaken up back there, not in an injury fashion, but in a shook fashion, in a confused fashion, in a deer in headlights fashion, in a Sam Darnold I see ghosts fashion, or a Sixth Sense, Haley Joel Osment, Bruce Willis. What a tremendous movie from back in the day. I can't say the dynasty's on hold. It has to be. And this is exactly the blueprint. Just like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers did to him, the blueprint is to get Patrick Mahomes off his game. If you are able to do that, the rest of the dynasty crumbles. The rest of the team crumbles. They are nothing without Patrick Mahomes. That's one of the reasons I'm so scared of them having Patrick Mahomes, is because he is everything that they are running off of. And as long as he's there, I can't see us, especially other teams in the AFC West, including Hot Take Jake's Broncos, and any other team in the NFL winning consistently when you have that much of a threat or that much of a juggernaut like the Kansas City Chiefs are. They still are, technically. Didn't look good here. Dynasty's on hold. Dynasty's on pause. But that's just not a good showing. But what a great showing for the Eagles. Shout out to all the Philly fans out there. The one I know the most, Chris Breezy. Shout out, my brother. Congrats to you. I know you're not even watching probably, but that's okay. Joe Feeney from K100, keeping it 100. Shout out, my brother. I know you're happy there in Philly land. And any other all Philly fans, I know there's probably a bunch of them I know I'm missing right now. Shout out to y'all. Hope y'all are partying all week long and y'all enjoy it. Shout out to defensive coordinator Vic Fangio. I mean, the defense was incredible. And you have to look at Vic Fangio, who has been himself an incredible defensive coordinator for a long time. And they didn't even have to use Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley, our MVP at the Bottom Line Sports, my MVP, the sports professor, only had 57 yards. They relied on the running game all season long, the running game and the defense, as was much expected for them to do in this game. And they didn't even need the running game to win. Didn't even need it. And Coach Sirianni Shout out to Coach Sirianni, who I've been defending all year long when people were calling for his job. Y'all remember that? I'm old enough to remember week 4 when Nick Sirianni's job was called for, or whatever week that was, 5, whatever it was. Well, we know Philly fans, though. We know Philly fans. These are the same fans that threw batteries at Santa Claus. So, and you're right, Hot Take Jake. You're right. He says 2 blowout losses, both of their losses in the Super Bowl, humiliating losses. A dynasty just can't do that. A dynasty cannot have humiliating losses like this. That does mean something. You're completely right. I agree. That's my main hit on their dynasty right now, is the fact that they got blown out twice in the Super Bowl now. That's not good. A dynasty can't let that happen. I agree. So, hey, shout out to Sirianni for vindicating himself, much less like Ryan Day did at the Ohio State, who were doing the same thing earlier this year. Fans are so fickle, man, and I know I'm one of them. I know I am. Now, I consider myself to be a little more realistic than the normal fan. I'm very pragmatic when it comes to my sports teams. I usually hedge to the negative side of things for my teams, and not because that's how I want to be, but it helps me to keep expectations lowered. So just in case, we have a bad season or whatever, and this comes from 20 years of being a Raiders fan. It comes from a long time of being a tortured Raiders fan and losing year after year after year, as the Raiders are wont to do. And so when you lose a lot, you have to protect yourself. So you hedge to the negative side a little bit. So I'm a little more pragmatic than most sports fans, more realistic. But yeah, you got to have a good team built from drafting well like the Eagles did and having good free agent pickups. On the Bottom Line Sports, I said my X factor was Zach Bond. He had an interception this game. He was a free agent pickup. Saquon Barkley, my NFL MVP, another free agent pickup. But they also drafted well. GM Howie Roseman did a great job, and it led to their second Lombardi trophy. I mean, this is how you should build a roster. And when you have a good quarterback too, which Jalen Hurts is, I know he gets a lot of knocks, but he's a really good quarterback. And the redemption arc, right? Just the story of redemption in Jalen Hurts' career. I mean, I'm old enough to remember when he got benched in the championship game in Alabama for Tua Tagovailoa and had to transfer to Oklahoma. Y'all remember that? So for that to happen to him, to get benched in a national championship game in college, to turn that around and become a Super Bowl champion and MVP, that's an inspiring redemption arc that future football coaches all across America will be using to inspire their players, right? Now, the Eagles have been doing something revolutionary with their cap that had not been used very much before, and that is to stretch players' cap hits past the seasons, including in the contract. So adding additional space in the short term and spreading those cap hits out over more years, even after the player is gone. So that allowed them to get better players now. And that is not a contract modification that a lot of teams are using. Howie Roseman is very much a leader in that department of using this sort of contract manipulation in order to allow for them to have more money now in the current. And that's not the same thing as the Shohei Ohtani deferred money deal. That's different. That's salary. These are cap hits. So what the cap would actually hit them, like for instance, let's say someone signed to a $20 million all guaranteed contract. well, then they would have a $20 million cap hit on the contract for that year. But they are spreading this out even past contract years, allowing them to have more players and more expensive players under current deals now, which works out when you draft really well, like they have, because they do have Jalen Carter and defensive backs Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell all on rookie deals. So that allows you to have a better roster. And they're going to stick around for a while, y'all. The Eagles are here for a while. Roseman and Sirianni up for contract extensions that they should both get with big raises. They should get a lot of money. Sirianni's making $7 million right now. He should be making more now as a Super Bowl coach, probably $10 million at least. But if they don't sign him to a contract extension, which I can't believe that the Eagles would, but so far they haven't, he could go somewhere else. You know who else could go somewhere else? Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore is the number one candidate for the New Orleans Saints job. Hey, hot take. Showed out. Cooper DeJean showed out with a pick 6 last night on the GOAT. So, yeah, great player, great young player. Kellen Moore is the number one choice in New Orleans for the Saints job. But you know who's staying in Philadelphia? The aforementioned Vic Fangio, defensive coordinator. He wants to win another championship. And he just signed a 3-year contract last offseason. But if I'm Kellen Moore, there's no way I take the New Orleans Saints job over coming back as the offensive coordinator for Philadelphia another season. You mean to tell me you would take the New Orleans Saints job, which, by the way, many people may not know this, but on the State of the Union program we did a few weeks ago, the New Orleans Saints are $51 million in cap deficit. They're in cap hell. They have no money for any free agents whatsoever for a long, long time. And they're not a good team. All of their stars are aging. Derek Carr is hurt. Taysom Hill's not a true quarterback. Great player. Not going to be a full season quarterback. Maybe he could. I don't know. I don't think so. But maybe. But either way, why would you take that gig? Why would you take that gig instead of staying with Philadelphia another year, possibly going back-to-back as champions? Philadelphia is coming back strong next year. And then next year you could get a better job. So, something to think about, but definitely I would think about staying and winning another championship in Philadelphia. As for the Chiefs, they face uncertainty of their own. Unable to become the first three-peat champions. Luckily they have Patrick Mahomes, who, although he signed the $450 million largest contract of all time, as it is actually structured out over 10 years, it's only $45 million a year. You look at what these other quarterbacks are getting now, 45, 50, what's going to start going up over $50 million a year. You're starting to look at Patrick Mahomes like a bargain over the next 5 years, which is a scary thing to say for the Chiefs. But again, they've got a lot of holes to fill. They got to fix up that offensive line. Luckily, Andy Reid has said he is returning. But they got a lot of problems off the field, too. They're trying to build a new stadium. They want to build a new practice facility, but they can't build that till they build a new stadium. But they don't have the local support there in Missouri. Last April, voters in Jackson County denied a proposal that would have created a new 3/8 cents tax mechanism over 40 years to help generate $2 billion to help renovate Arrowhead and fund a new ballpark for the Royals. They said no. So right now, they're not even sure that they're going to have a new stadium. But they're still the NFL top draw. They're like the New England scam Patriots back when they were in their heyday, right? Everybody wants to see the Chiefs. They still got Taylor Swift. If you heard me on the bottom line, if you've seen my shorts on Ball and Bud's channel, you'll know I've talked a lot about the conspiracies, about the actual collaboration, collusion, if you will, between Taylor Swift and the NFL. And you might have heard me on the bottom line say that the collusion was going to happen at the Super Bowl and that the Chiefs were going to three-peat. Travis Kelce was going to propose to Taylor Swift on the 50-yard line. All the dream sequence was going to happen. I did say that. I said that was a possibility. That was my caveat, as Clubber D would say. But I received word about 30 minutes before the Super Bowl started. The NFL called an audible. They called an audible. And they decided we want to lean in to the Taylor Swift revenge era arc. And they want the Chiefs to run it back again. So they decided the Chiefs would lose this Super Bowl. Instead of having the fairy tale dream ending yet, they want to make more money since they've been making a lot of money off this relationship with Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift wants to make more money off of it, obviously. So they're going to keep it going. They had the Chiefs lose this year in order to have a revenge, Taylor Swift revenge arc. You know, Taylor Swift's career, part of it, leaned into the revenge that she would get on her ex-boyfriends. And this will be no different for the Chiefs in 2025. So there you go. That's my theory. That's my theory here. If we're talking about the conspiracy theory, but they're still the most popular team. They're worth an estimated $5 billion. So we will see. And speaking of Taylor Swift, she was booed. It was a mostly Eagles crowd. They booed her. And when they showed her in the box, I felt so bad for her. They showed her in the box when she was getting booed. She was like, heavens to Betsy. She was offended. I was like, oh, sorry. That's not good, Tay-Tay. My bad. Woo. Anyways. So, yeah. A lot of things that are going to go into the NFL offseason, and we'll keep you updated here on this program. One other note, though, specialty cocktails up to $40 in New Orleans. Look, y'all, I get us the Super Bowl. I get you charge a lot. But $40 for one drink is out of hand. That's Vegas prices. No. We got cut us some slack. We're just trying to have some fun. As a man who enjoys a nice libation or two, we're just trying to have fun. What a great word for a Puerto Rican on a live TV show. Libation. Shout out my brother Conan. There at K100. Hope you're doing better, my friend. But yeah, he likes to talk about the vocabulary that a good Puerto Rican may have.
Oh, yeah, let me speak on this. Orale! Arriba la raza!
Arriba la raza! Yeah. Shout out. Hope you're doing better, brother. All right, let's keep it moving on from sports. Now we are going to move it on into the entertainment world. And so, I mean, what do you think I'm going to talk about? Well, what do you think I'm going to talk about in the entertainment world? Obviously, Kendrick Lamar's halftime show is what most of the time we're going to spend on this today. A few notes, though, from the weekend. PlayStation Network was down for most of the weekend, so all my gamers out there, online gamers especially, were pretty upset that a 24-hour outage, from Friday to Saturday left at least 70,000 PlayStation gamers out. I know DC the OG was one of those people upset by the outage. So Sony has given PlayStation Plus members 5 extra days of service. Not sure what that does for the regular PlayStation members, but hey, at least it's something. As for commercials, y'all know the Super Bowls, they star in the commercials. Nike, first commercial in 25 years. They have not decided that we're not going to advertise in the Super Bowl for a long time now due to some perceived slights in the past. But they came back this year. 25 years later, Nike back with an ad starring all of the women superstars all over the world. Yes. It was featuring Caitlin Clark. It featured Asia Wilson, Sabrina Ionescu, gymnast Jordan Childs, Sha'Carri Richardson, track and field, shout out. Love me some Sha'Carri Richardson. Do you. And Aria, and more showcasing the women's game, showcasing women's sports, and women's sports are thriving right now. Thriving. WNBA, as a fun fact, was the number 5 watched sport in the U.S. And you may say, oh, that's not great, but it is. It's after the big 4. That means after NFL, NBA, MLB, and NHL, the WNBA was the next most watched sport over golf, NASCAR, tennis, everything. That's good. That's good for the WNBA. And women's sports is making buku bucks right now. The media rights deals and everything, the way the women's sports, not only the WNBA, but college sports, everything. It's just women's sports is where you want to be right now if you are an advertiser or a business. So shout out to Nike for that as well. What was your favorite commercial from last night? Mine had to be the two that had to do with the eyebrows. So they had the eyebrow ones where they flew off. I thought those were pretty clever and funny, but I didn't really find too many good commercials this year. I really didn't think there were that many other than that one probably. What was your favorite commercial of the night? Let me know in the comments while you're there. Hit that like button for me. I would really appreciate it if you're watching right now. We got over 20 in the live right now. I thank you and appreciate you tuning in. This is the Professor Semanalmente. I am Omar, the Professor Fonseca. And again, always appreciate y'all tuning in. Make sure you smash that subscribe button as well, as the kids say. At Ball and Bud, BALLANDBUDS. Handy QR code up top there for you. Kendrick's halftime show. Let's talk about it. It is all over the interwebs. What people think and what people don't think about the halftime show. And what do I think? Well, I thought, personally, as a hip-hop MC myself, a hip-hop artist, as a lover of the hip-hop genre, it was an amazing performance. Great performance. Let me just first say that. Kendrick is one of my favorite artists, probably because I don't care for a lot of hip-hop or rap artists these days, aside from, a couple here and there, the Griselda crew, Run the Jewels, something like that. Wu-Tang coming out with a new album. Wu-Tang just announced today. Wu-Tang coming out with a new album. My favorite hip-hop group ever, the Wu-Tang Clan, coming out with the new album. All members on it. RZA will not be producing. I love you, RZA, but we just want you to rap on this one. Let's see what happens. But in terms of a hip-hop performance, awesome. In terms of a message, the message that was to be sent that we'll talk about, I thought very, very needed at this point in time. Very introspective, very apropos, speaking to the times that we live in. Fantastic, on spot. I like it. I'll talk more about that as well. But as a Super Bowl halftime show itself, I give it a B. And again, I really like Kendrick, so that's why I'm giving it a B. Again, an amazing performance when it comes to just a strictly hip-hop performance. And I get it. He's a big, huge Grammy Award winner. Apple is the sponsor of the halftime show. They're trying to get their artist out there, and he's the most popular one right now with the new album and the Grammy and the Drake beef and all that. I get it. I completely understand why he was chosen. But for a Super Bowl halftime show, I feel like there needs to be a lot more spectacle to it. I feel like there needs to be a lot more showmanship, so to say, and not necessarily from him. He did great showmanship, but I mean from the show itself. Fireworks, visuals, lasers, whatever that makes these things what they are. I also believe that it should be a medley of artists. I don't think it should ever just be one artist. I think it should be multiple artists that are like last year when they had Kendrick too, but they also had Drake, Eminem, Mary J. Blige, right? 50 Cent. That is a great Super Bowl halftime show where you can look back and say, awesome. Because you're varying it up, right? One artist to me is just, and we got into this on Banter Brawls and Bravado. Shout out to Clubber Lee, Wildcard Mark, Detroit Mel. Tap in with that IOW sports crew. They're awesome. Green Wonder Network Radio. Download it on any Apple or Android store. Great radio station app. But we talked about this when we talked about Lil Wayne, and they argued that Lil Wayne would be a great hip-hop performance, but not a show, not a Super Bowl halftime show. And I agree. It's something that not one artist can usually pull off by themselves because it's just such a big, grand stage. So what I would like to see going forward, and what I would have liked to see this year, is for it to be always a medley of artists, multiple artists. And this year, they could have pulled that off with a combination of, especially being in that area, if they really wanted to do hip hop, they could have done a No Limit Soldiers reunion and paired that with the Hot Boys. And you could have had the No Limit Soldiers, the Hot Boys, the Cash Money crew, and you could have had all the crews up there and put on a hell of a damn Super Bowl halftime show where you could have had all the extravagance. You could have had the tanks shooting out fire and the lasers everywhere and all of that. That would have been a great halftime show. And again, amazing performance. Nothing against his performance at all. Thought it was amazing. I loved it personally as a hip hop artist. But for a Super Bowl halftime show, I need more spectacle. And I need more varying of artists. I need multiple artists. I need to see multiple people on the stage. And yeah, he brought SZA out, which was dope. SZA's dope. But maybe even more genre of artists. He's done features with other artists. I mean, he did a feature with Taylor Swift on Bad Blood. He could have popped her out for that song. You know how that would have, that would have gone, the crowd would have gone crazy if they would have done that. And you know what else it would have done? It would have eliminated all the racist folks or stereotypical folks online now today spouting out about how, there wasn't one white person on stage and DEI for hip, which is very rich considering what Donald Trump is trying to do right now, getting rid of DEI and trying to keep everything where minorities and women and disabled people have less of a chance. It's very rich of those people to stay online. Very hypocritical. But aside from that, I don't care about that. That doesn't matter to me at all. Well, didn't look at the color of the people on the stage, to be honest. I was paying attention to the artistry. But even if that is the case, who cares? Shit, if DEI needs to go one way, at least where you're actually having the people that deserve to be there, hip hop would be the one that needs to have all the black people. Sorry, just is. We love Eminem. We love Eminem. We love Cage. Ill Bill, Necro. Right? We love all the white boy rappers. We really do. But we don't need to talk about things like that. This is a performance, a show, something that doesn't need these jerk offs, these jets is what I meant to say. Online spouting about, look, if you don't like Kendrick Lamar, or you are on the side of thinking that DEI is something that is horrible and is a hit to is a scene on society, or you think that some people based on whatever disability, color of skin, woman or man, should be not given fair chances. If you believe that ways, you weren't going to like the performance regardless. So there's nothing I can say to you. You weren't going to care about it anyways. And a lot of those people are the ones spouting this online. And if you're in that boat, or you don't like him, or you don't like any of that, or you didn't want to see that type of performance, well, you're again, your opinion was going to be skewed either way. I am coming to you from a perspective, and I've already told you I enjoy Kendrick Lamar. I'm coming to you from perspective of an artist as well. And again, amazing performance, not necessarily what I'd like to see in a halftime Super Bowl show. I need more spectacle. What I don't care about is the color skin of the people that are actually in the performance. For those people that said, "Oh, there wasn't one white stage at all." Let's not go back to the countless concerts, because I went back early and watched a bunch of them, including The Who, which there was no black people on stage for anywhere, so don't try me. Go back and watch The Who's performance from like 7 years ago. Not a black person in sight. If you want to go to any other ones too, right? I can keep going back. I'm not going to. We can go back all the way. When you're on one side, you can cherry pick, right? You can do that. You can cherry pick this sort of thing. I'm not going to do that because that's not what I'm here to do. I'm not here to fight with the petty, stupid people online. That's not what I'm here to do. If you're in your mama's basement, typing on your board, you a keyboard warrior, I'm not worried about you. Your opinion matters none. So, was it the worst halftime? No, not even close to the worst ever. And again, I still give it even a B-, whatever. But again, it just needs more spectacle for me. I need more artists. Now, let's talk about the actual performance. There's a couple things that need to be talked about here. First was the tension of whether he would actually play Not Like Us. If you don't know the background on this, the song Not Like Us from Kendrick Lamar is was by far the biggest hit of 2024, was by far the biggest song of 2024, no matter what genre. And Taylor Swift came out with the album. It was a Drake diss. It was a diss towards Drake. Drake and Kendrick Lamar had been battling back and forth over a couple records. And finally, Kendrick came out with this record one day, and it allegedly accusing Drake of allegedly having relations with minors, which is why the famous A minor line, which you heard everyone sing at the Superdome, which was crazy. And if I was Drake, I'd have go bury myself in the backyard. I'd have grabbed a shovel, I'd have dug my own grave, I'd have gone laid in it, and then I'd have shoveled the dirt back on top of myself, because, sir, you're never coming back from that. The whole Superdome sang the A minor line, which was diabolical work. Bonkers. Now, he didn't say the word, the P word that's related to relations with minors, which I don't even know if you can say on YouTube, so I'm not going to say it. He didn't say the word, which I'm sure they told him beforehand, yo, you can't say that on TV. You're going to get us sued. And Drake's already sued for this, y'all, by the way. He sued Kendrick's label, Top Dog. He sued his own label. Drake was so mad, he sued his own label for the song. He was like, y'all let this happen too. Even though they didn't release it. Y'all let this happen too just because. He done sued over a song, y'all. Sued. Never in my life have I seen such a bitch move. Excuse my language. Either way, right? With the lawsuits, with everything going on, with some of the lyrics of the song that may not be allowed on television, we were like, is he really going to do it? And he kept teasing it throughout the performance. Very well done, by the way. I did say on the show, on the Bottom Line Sports show, preview show on Sunday, that I would have ended with Not Like Us, and that I saw an idea online to start and end with it, which I thought was pretty cool. I actually like what he did better. He gave you little snippets of the song before each of the other songs to get you hyped for it, and then he took it away and made you wait for it. And then to combine that at the end with TV off, which I thought they may have started with, but completely makes sense to end with instead, because turn your TV off, obviously, not best performance, but in his eyes, what he's probably saying, my performance, turn the TV off, it's over. And with the blowout of the game, you probably could have at that point, to be completely honest. So in terms of the song choices, I would have liked to as well, and this is the problem with the one artist thing. is that you're limited to one catalog of one artist. And as well, I know Apple probably wanted to get all the songs off of his new album because they're the ones promoting it. But they didn't really do too many of the old songs. They did do Humble, which I thought that he should have started with. And I still think that. I still think he should have started with that to get the momentum going. But I did like the structure of the songs. The choreography of the dancing, great. The message. Let's talk about the message. A lot of people, the message may have gone over your head. And I completely understand that. Especially if you love hip hop, then or are an avid fan of hip hop even, then you would possibly be able to understand some of the Easter eggs that were laid out, some of the undertones of the message. If you are black, brown, otherwise minority, you may understand some of the undertones. If you're in that camp that we talked about earlier, with people that may have been against this performance since the beginning, then you weren't going to get the message. And the message was going to go over your head. But there was a much, much deeper message to this performance than what is being put out there. Hot Take Jake, I think it's annoying to put Kendrick there and annoyed there was Easter eggs. It's what he does, bro. It's like getting Mexican chef and asking for Italian food. Yeah, I agree. When you get Kendrick as the artist, you should expect that he's going to have Easter eggs. He's going to have underlying meanings. He's going to have musical undertones to his music. Yeah, that's what he does. That's what Kendrick does. That's what makes him one of the greatest lyricists of all time, is the fact that he can structure and one of the greatest storytellers too, that he can create lyrics and create the structure of a song and the structure of a whole album where it's a cinematic experience, right? And so when you get a performance like this, yeah, you've got to expect that you're going to get the Easter eggs with it. And there were a lot of them. There were a lot of them. First of all, let's start out with the theme and whether some of this were intended at Donald Trump or at the presidency is not explicitly known, but some of it could be portrayed that way. But the theme of the show was always going to be America. If you remember back to the advertisements for the show, it always had him with the backdrop of the American flag. So it was always going to be an American theme. And he had that planned out from the beginning because the message here, the overall message that he was trying to get across is that America and the mainstream media, especially the government, the way things are run, is all one big game. And we are all pawns in that game. And so you'll see some things that point to this. So first of all, what about the America theme? Well, if you go back and look, every single person in his choreographed dance group were wearing either red, white, or blue. Right? Also, the MC of the show, one of my favorite actors, Samuel L. Jackson, Uncle Sam, dressed up as Uncle Sam. Love to see a black man dressed up as Uncle Sam. That's good shit right there. And it probably pissed a lot of people off. And if it did, then you probably got some racist tendencies. Let's just be completely honest. If that made you mad, you need to get a life because you probably got some racist tendencies. Because Uncle Sam don't need a skin color anyways. But the underlying message is that a lot of times in society, in America mostly, African-American, Black, Hispanic culture, minority, especially African-American Black culture, is taken and repurposed and reused by Caucasians, by the white segment of the population. You can go back as far as when Elvis stole Black music to become the most popular rock artist. Not really rock, but you know. Could you argue that, and this is what their argument was at the time, that there wasn't a black man out there that could have been as popular as Elvis. Well, maybe in the times, because of the years that we're in, that could have possibly been true. I mean, you never know till you try. But I know Jimi Hendrix was pretty famous. And that was around, you know, a little shortly after that time. So, I mean, you could have some pretty famous people. But the point is that a lot of times the culture is appropriated. Let's be straight up. We keep it 100 on this show. The culture is appropriated by the Caucasian white segments of the population, but not appreciated. You heard me? I know it went over your head, so let me back it up a second. The culture is appropriated, but not appreciated. Too often is the culture appropriated, but never given the proper credit. Too often is the culture appropriated, but then put down at the same time. Too often is the culture appropriated, but then denigrated on a daily basis. And that two-headed monster, that, to be completely honest, that disgusting dichotomy is why we have racial division in this country. And it's why a performance of this magnitude could also have such effect and bring out the venom in people. Just the venomous nature of people to come online spewing racial hatred. Because a black man was picked to do a halftime show and gave the message that black culture is appropriated and not appreciated, and that we're all pawns in this big game, and that if you would get upset with that, you've got some looking in the mirror to do with yourself. You really do. You've got to do some looking in the mirror to yourself. I can't help you. I can't. But yeah, it's the message was there. The message, I appreciated the message. Because I believe that is completely true. And especially in this time that we're in America, where we do have such a racial divide, it hits harder than ever. It's so more prescient and it's so much more substantial in this time that we're in. And again, I love all people. I am completely against racism. I love all you. White, black, brown, purple, green, blue, whatever color you are. You could be a damn Smurf. I'm still going to love you. But not everybody's like that. A lot of people aren't. But the message was there. What about the gaming part of it? If you looked at the field, it looked like a PlayStation control. The message there, and this is apparently words coming out of the TDE camp and all of that, but that's to represent the game that is played, that America plays, that we are all pawns of, that the rich and the elite, the Illuminati, all of these people own and control, and that we're just pawns in their game. They also liken it to Squid Games. So if you saw, it had the same Squid Game kind of layout. It had the middle field, which they were saying was to represent a prison yard, because we're all prisoners to this game. We're all sheep to the government and the Illuminati and the elite control, is what is being said here. That's the message being extended there. All pawns in the game. So, and again, that's very much, if you watch this show, you'll know last week I said that, or a couple weeks ago when Donald Trump enacted a bunch of those executive actions, that one of them was to bring back the for-profit prison system, which I'm completely against, because when you have obviously a for-profit prison system, they make more money by keeping more prisoners in, and then you improperly imprison people that don't deserve to be there, or charge people and imprison them for crimes that maybe don't deserve to be imprisoned for. Another thing for another day, that'll be on the mind of the professor in the future, so look out for that. But anyways, I thought the message was very prescient and needed for this time. And if you didn't get it, if it went over your head, now that I've explained it to you, go back and take a look. Hopefully you'll understand better. And if you're still against it, or you still have some kind of hate emanating from your heart because of it, again, you need to go take a look in the mirror at yourself, because that hate is not good. Only love can defeat hate. And I want you to know I love you. Even if you hate me, I love you. All right. Shout out to Serena Williams, though. Another shot at Drake. By the way, Drake, just put it down. Just go away. There's no point in you coming back. I don't think you should ever show your face again. You already have enough money. Just go away. Serena Williams, also Drake's ex-girlfriend, crip walking to signify the death of Drake's career. And it was funny because when the camera panned, I was like, yo, I was like, he got a girl that looks an awful lot like Serena Williams. I was like, damn, she looks like Serena Williams. And then later I found out it was her. I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense then. But it's hard to do the Super Bowl. Now, again, one artist I don't agree with. I think we need a medley of artists. You need multiple artists for every Super Bowl. And that goes all the way back to any of the other ones. Like when Lady Gaga had hers, I didn't like it. Because, it's just one artist. Now, I like this one a lot more than the Lady Gaga one. That's because I don't personally listen to Lady Gaga. She's an amazing artist, talented, but I don't listen to her music. But I also didn't think that was a Super Bowl show because it's just one artist. I need multiple personalities on stage. I need multiple things going on in a bunch of places all at once. The spectacle is what I need. But you might experience things like this as an artist that does a Super Bowl show, especially if you do it alone. You are going to experience some criticism. And that's why a lot of people have said no to the Super Bowl show. So because of the fact that you do get a lot of criticism for this sort of thing, there are a lot of artists that just don't want to even deal with it, whether that be because of artistic personal preferences or because of politics or anything else. So for instance, Adele turned down the Super Bowl in her heyday because she said that it didn't fit her music style, which I agree. Pink said no to 2019. You can probably assume why that was or guess why that was. Obviously, Pink, very big into the LGBT community, against Donald Trump for, Colin Kaepernick for the kneeling. She turned that down due to politics. Jay-Z has previously declined the offer plenty of times, even though he produces the show now, or has helped produce the show. So things like that. Taylor Swift declined the 2023 show because she wanted to focus on her recording. Big Boy of Outkast revealed that Andre 3000 declined a Super Bowl halftime offer because they wanted to shorten their songs. So a lot of people, even Dolly Parton. I love Dolly. We love Dolly here in Tennessee. Dolly, amazing human being, philanthropist, humanitarian. She's even been offered and hasn't done it. Now, she cited scheduling conflicts, feeling that she wasn't, and if you know Dolly, she's so humble, she feels she's not big enough for the Super Bowl, even though she probably would be. But again, it just goes back to the single artist thing, and I think it just needs to be a melody going forward. Awesome. Thank y'all for sticking in. Look at this. We're still rolling strong. I appreciate y'all. Make sure you subscribe to Ball and Buds, BALLANDBUDS. Use that handy QR code up top. And please hit that like button for me. We move it on into U.S. news. So what's been going on around the United States? Well, everybody's going crazy over the cost of eggs, y'all. The cost of eggs has continued to hit record high. USDA data shows whole size prices are above $7.30 for a dozen of large eggs. This is up from about $5 at the beginning of 2025 and almost 3 times as much year over year. Primarily, this has been driven, I want to make sure we clear this up on this program in case there's any confusion, but this has been really spurred on due to so if you have not heard, the bird flu is going around America. We'll keep it moving. The National Institute of Health, as we said, cutting back medical health budgets. The scientists push back, saying that it will halt progress on life-saving medical innovations and imperil jobs. And plus, we got to think about this. The National Institute of Health is an economic force. It is a leading funder of biomedical research and supports over 400,000 jobs. So, wow. Cutting back research and grants could obviously halt our progress in finding cures to cancer, ALS, and other horrible diseases. Speaking of, if you would like to support a wonderful cause, my brother David has a ALS advocacy blog at David's ALS Journey. You can Google that and you'll find it. But if you'd like, please subscribe to his blog and share as we try to find a cure for this horrible, horrible disease. But the overhead cuts costs are at the center of the budget cuts. So what happens here is when the National Institute of Health actually awards a grant to a scientist, an additional percentage of that award is provided to the scientist institution to pay for the infrastructure that supports the research, the lab equipment, the waste disposal, whatever else goes with it. Obviously, that makes sense, right? If I'm a scientist and I win a grant, well, then my institution should also get some of that money to be able to continue doing further research. That's the point. But this is what they're saying. So of the $35 billion awarded to grants in 2023, $9 billion or 26% went to indirect cost. Those indirect costs under the President Trump's new administration will be capped at 15%. They point to the high rates, indirect rates, which have been awarded to ultra wealthy institutions such as Harvard, Yale, Johns Hopkins, respectively. So now people will fight back and say, okay, well, yeah, if it's going to wealthy institutions that don't really need the money, then maybe we can cut that out. And I would agree to a certain point. But you also have to think about the fact that, for instance, like Johns Hopkins, they're a huge medical hospital. So it's not just the university. A lot of those doctors that they're training at that university go on to become the doctors at the prestigious Johns Hopkins hospital, which actually does a lot of good and helps a lot of people. So I'm all for getting rid of government wasteful spending. I'm all for it. I really am all for, Elon Musk and Doge doing a really good job to try to get rid of government waste. What I'm not okay with is information security, having access to information that they don't have the necessary clearances for, and also the cutting of things like the National Institute of Health research grants that could hurt progress in our healthcare, progress in our country. Because if you're not giving some of those costs, let's say that they take away those costs that they give to the institutions, right? And granted, they're not taking it all away, they're just capping it, which is good. But let's say that they capped it to the amount where some institutions no longer wanted to participate because of the fact that it wasn't worth the money that they had to spend. Well, then we could be losing out on possibly life-saving, anything, life-saving procedures, life-saving medicine, anything that might be necessary. So things like that need to be taken a more strict eye to see if it's actually necessary or if it's actually something that could harm us in the end. We also have to think about the economics that the NIH actually contributes. For every $1 of research funding, the National Institute of Health generates $2.46 in economic activity, according to United Medical Research. That means that for every dollar that NIH puts into the economy, the U.S. economy gets $2.50 back. They're making $1.50 off for every dollar they spend. Why would we want to take away from that? Not to mention, the cuts could disproportionately impact cities that are hubs for biomedical research, like Birmingham, Alabama, the Research Triangle in North Carolina, or Pittsburgh, for instance, has a thriving medical-based economy in Western Pennsylvania. But the new policy would say that the University of Pittsburgh would receive $183 million less in government funding. How can we do that? How can we take $183 million away from a university that probably needs it, does need that money in order to try to find life-saving cures that we need in this country? That's something that needs to be looked at. University lawyers nationwide will file, obviously, lawsuits to challenge this, so we'll see. What else has been challenged? The tariffs that President Donald Trump has issued. We talked about all the tariffs last week that he issued to Canada, Mexico, and China. All three of those countries either agreed to a sort of package to delay those tariffs, which Donald Trump then delayed the tariffs on all three countries. So I guess there goes my strongman argument last week where I was like, oh yeah, I agree with Donald Trump and the tariffs, and I really think he should use that as a powerful power move. And then he backs off of it and agrees to delay them because they gave some sorts, I know what they were, but a bunch of different, not a bunch, but different sorts of stipulations and capitulations to his request in order to be able to get those delayed. But at that point, if you're going to be and take that power move, you got to stand ground and say, no, we have all the power in this situation. And so when you do delay it, then it kind of makes you look a little like you're backing off of your word, a little less weak on what you're saying. Also, the fact that they delayed tariffs on small packages, we talked about this, right? We talked about this last week when we talked about the fact that they have what is called de minimis exemptions, which is anything under $800, which are exempt to these tariffs, which means that you all can keep shopping on Temu. Don't worry for now. But that's also what lets some drugs into the country because of the fact that a lot of the things that are used to make illegal drugs are brought into the country under those de minimis exceptions that allow for, those sort of things to happen. What else can happen when you institute tariffs, which is one of the reasons that Donald Trump also put delays on the tariffs? China counter-tariffed us. Just this morning, China had counter tariffs that went live, 10 to 15% levies on all U.S. exports, gas, oil, coal, automotive parts, farm equipment. Anything that China imports from us pretty much that's important is going to get a 10 to 15% tariff on the United States. So again, this is not looking good, and we cannot end up going into a trade war. Yes, I think that Donald Trump was correct in exerting his power with these tariffs. But one thing you cannot have is a trade war. And while I do believe that all these countries will back off in the long run, which is why I believed in the tariffs in the first place, if we do have a war of economies, a tariff war happen between us and China, that's going to be really bad because that means a lot of electronics, furniture, appliances, stuff like that are going to shoot up in price, and we are going to be spending a lot of money. As we know, pretty much not everything, but the majority of stuff in America that is sold is made in China. It ain't made here. Hope y'all know that. It ain't made here. We don't have a lot of American. Do I think that should be the case? No, I think we should have everything made in America. I am one of those people. But hey, when you have other countries that do it cheaper, it is what it is, and it's going to be what it's going to be. But yeah, I appreciate y'all staying tuned in. Unfortunately, it looks like once I had those technical difficulties, I lost all of my audience. So shout out to Hot Take Jake and my beautiful mother who are still tuned in. I appreciate y'all sticking with me, but it seems like everybody else has dipped. So I'm not going to stay on much longer. I'm going to plan on getting off of here in a couple more minutes. So let me just go through a couple more news and notes, and I'm going to get out of here. First off, a couple other things. President Donald Trump has revoked former President Joe Biden's security clearance. Speaking of security clearances, he said he did this because Joe Biden did it to him in 2021. So, hey, I'm actually not upset with that. Eye for an eye sort of thing, I guess there. Who cares, really? It doesn't matter. He doesn't need it. He's too old. What the hell do you need security clearance for anyways? He should be retired at the beach. Hey, thank you for your service to this country, Joe Biden, but please go off into the sunset, retire, enjoy your life, live, and we don't need you to be in charge of anything in the government. You don't need a security clearance. You have no need for that, as they say. Go retire and enjoy the rest of your life, sir. Thank you for your service. But I also thought about, when is it that we actually get to the point, because last time when COVID was going on, as you remember, I told y'all, I used to tune in and I still tune into anytime Donald Trump talks because I just find him to be hilarious. But especially during COVID, when there wasn't a lot going on, and he was doing the daily, press briefings and all that stuff. I used to tune in. It was appointment viewing for me, popcorn and all, because I'd be dying. He'd always say something that would just crack me up, whether it be completely false or just stupid or even true but funny. So I always thought to myself back then, when I wasn't actually in the media, when do they get to the point where they're like, man, this guy just says a lot of things that are just off the wall outrageous. Now that I'm in the media, now that I am a media member, now that I do a weekly news show, we're only 4 weeks into the presidency and I'm already at this point. Like this past week, we heard that he was being very serious about Canada becoming a 51st state. Sir, they do not want to become a 51st state. No matter how much you want them to become there, they do not want it. They do not want it. You can't just go taking over, all right? This isn't the 1800s anymore. All right, this isn't the 1500s. This isn't the Ottoman Empire. You can't just go taking stuff over. That's not how this world works anymore. And you shouldn't be able to do that. That's wild. But then Greenland, like he wants to take over Greenland. And I know that this is, he says it wasn't serious, but at one point he even said possibly using the military to do so. Like, no, we cannot do this. Okay. These are independent countries. You can't just go taking countries over. What is happening right now? You just can't. And then, so now I'm just like, okay, are we at that point already where I've just heard so many crazy things in 1 week out of his mouth that I'm just like laughing so much. I'm just like, this is hilarious. So something even more funny, he named himself the chair of the Kennedy Performing Arts Center. I repeat. President Donald Trump, who does not have an artistic bone in his body, with all due respect, businessman to the highest order, but not an artistic bone in his body, I can guarantee you, has named himself the chair of the Kennedy Performing Arts Center. I mean, that's got to be the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life. That's like, what? As Stone Cold used to say, what? What? But as Donald Trump is saying, though, Donald Trump, as he says with all of these things that he's doing.
Because that's the bottom line. Because Stone Cold said so. Because that's the bottom line.
The bottom line. That being said, that is a great segue. Tune into the Bottom Line Sports tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern. Make sure you subscribe to Ball and Buds, BALLANDBUDS. Hit that handy QR code up top. It will take you to all our socials. You can subscribe on YouTube. That is most important to me, as I spend hundreds of hours on videos, and I would love for you to appreciate that and give me a sub on YouTube. Hit that like button as well. I appreciate everybody tuning in. I'm going to truncate this episode now. I did have some more news to go into, but since I did lose all of my audience when we had technical difficulties, it really doesn't make sense for me to continue. So thank you to the last two remaining members, my mother, my beautiful mother, my audio and video director who's been helping me through this show, and Hot Take Jake as well. I appreciate you sticking around, brother. Y'all make sure you look out for Total Evisceration, the brand new show coming out soon featuring Hot Take Jake versus the Sports Professor. Yes, it will be Hot Take Jake and I duking it out over all types of topics. Mostly sports, but pop culture otherwise. This is going to be a viral internet sensation. I'm telling you already. I've been editing episode 1 all week long. I'm trying to finish it up, and it is a hilarious episode. So look out for that. And as well, again, make sure you look out for all other shows. I will be back again this week, even after the Bottom Line. I'm going to either do a Banter, Brawls, and Bravado later this week, or I may do a Mind of the Professor. I'm not sure yet, because I have a networking event on Thursday for content creators that I'm going to go to at the 1865 Club. So that should be pretty cool. So I'm thinking of doing something Wednesday. I'm just not sure what yet, but be on the lookout for that then. Again, thank y'all for tuning in. I really appreciate it. As always, I am Omar, the Professor Fonseca, and this is the Professor's Semanalmente, which again just means weekly, you marks. That's all it means. Weekly. Y'all a bunch of mark ass busters. Actually, there's nobody left watching, so I can say that. It's pretty funny. But anyways, I'm just gonna get out of here now. So again, thank y'all for tuning in. Appreciate it. Make sure you're subscribed to Ball and Buds. And we out. Holla. 5,000.
He's with the millions.
It's that world heavyweight flow. Championship belt wrapped around my waist, yo. I got that Ric Flair figure flow. Slam you on the pavement, that's why they call me Street Pro. Create heat on beat close. Like Jordan after the second time he three-peated, folks. Get ready, set, let's go. Fight toe to toe, release the flow created by this mic pro. Lights, camera, get low. Action packed, back to back. In fact, this monster will grow. Y'all better let him know. Man with the master plan, and you have no need to know. You came prepared, now get ready for the show.
Sports Professor.